We have applause.
We have applause, like Lady
And
Gaga.
I have
said.
my Veterans Day outfit on, my red, white, and blue. I'm feeling patriotic today.
The true heroes, Andrew. The true heroes.
They are. How is how are things going in Canada today?
Good. We do the full thing, the full sort of, respectful celebration of all the wonderful people who have allowed us to live the way we do, and allowed us to have the wonderful opportunities we have. So it's a somber day, but it's always filled with gratitude.
Yep. Oh my gosh. How is your oh, you know what? I think we have we got some things to discuss today.
We do. It is busy. It has been busy for
have,
us.
I could have sworn there's some stories of brewing, Mr. Hans.
Yes, we have stories. We have stories. We have Mr. Burry. We can talk about him a little bit. Mr. Burry might be getting buried if he's not careful.
Exactly. Well, he's got the right name for it sometimes. I mean, you know what? There's been a lot of famous I guess we're going to save him for the end, but there's been a lot of famous hedge fund managers. You only have to be right once to do well, you know?
It's true.
It's kind of like making a good marriage. You only have to make one good one, and then you're kind of set for the rest of your life. A hedge fund guy, you only need one great trade.
It's true. You know what? You can write one Dark Side of the Moon, one Appetite for Destruction, and you are set for the rest of your career. You're going to sell out stadiums for the rest of your career. So that can make a very big difference in your career.
It can. Look at Ozzy.
There is no end. I mean, you may have to sing those songs 1,500 times over the next 5 years, but if you can stomach that, you can do very well off one big hit.
We all got to make a living. We all got to make a living.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I mean, it sounds awful. It just sounds terrible, but somebody's got to do it.
Somebody has to just pony up and just get it done. Get it done.
That's right.
Let's see. Other stories we have today. Like, you know what I'm going to call this week? I feel like it's kind of a surprise week, right? Another story is the longest shutdown in history. I will call it the snoozer story, right? Because, I mean, if people were in this, in here for the last couple of weeks, what we've been saying was going to happen after this shutdown was over. We were gonna rally, right?
We were, we had to make up our own data
about nothing.
We're making up data. Now we might get data again. I mean, they may have not been out there in the field kind of grabbing data and all that. So it's not going to be perfect, but we're going to start getting some data. But, that aside, we've had a lot of private data that has been available. So it's not like we're completely in the dark here.
Right. And that has also caused, I think, the surprise trade right now is the dollar. I believe that, I feel like there's so much negative media about everything. There's so much negative media about like the shutdown. But for whatever reason, investors are voting with their feet, global investors, and the dollar is making a move. And I find like dollar and gold are kind of going up together. Now, all of these things, make the investing landscape curious, right? Curious. But if the dollar's going up, generally what's happening with U.S. equities, Mr. Hans?
Well, look, I think first and foremost, I want to point out that we had a lot of foreign selling in April, and there was talk of the end of U.S. exceptionalism. And at the time, I went on the record, I said, this is absolute and utter rubbish. The U.S. controls too much of the tech world. Maybe that changes one day, but I really doubt it. We see some interesting things coming out of China, a beautiful new model that just came out that's kind of kicking butt. But I said, this is crazy. And they sold. And you know what? That foreign selling lasted about 3 weeks. And then they started to pile in again. And the fact remains that it is the consumer economy of the world. It has everything going for it. And now the dollar is starting to strengthen again, which is, it can be positive and it can be negative, right? It's negative for people who sell a lot of stuff overseas. You're going to be getting whatever currency that is underperforming versus the dollar. But in my view, it's a little bit of a move back to safety, which is interesting to me.
And I think now that, the dust is sort of cleared somewhat, the U.S. was somewhat able to maintain, some sort of spending cap. To be honest, I don't know what Congress is doing, right? Because clearly they don't look at what money they bring in and what they spend. But at least there was someone said no, right? Somebody said no. And overall, the market liked that. And I think the dollar liked that. So that is a story. Like, dollar strength in general is pretty good for U.S. equities, right? And for a strategy, and for somebody that likes to buy, I can't think of the term, AI stocks revolving around AI.
I've heard of those. I've heard of AI stocks. I'm going to look into it very, very soon. I'm just kidding. We've been focusing on that for a long time. We were early at Option Pit. We talked about this stuff when everyone was going, oh, this is a pretty fancy chat bot, but really what sort of legs does it have? And I think people are starting to understand now. We had a company, Nebius, this morning, good numbers, but they said we are capacity constrained. And what that means, folks, is that you could sell a whole bunch more stuff, and you can't. The demand is massive. Oracle said that. Microsoft said that. Everyone is saying that. We could do so much more business. So without a doubt, this is absolutely not a story that is anywhere near the 7th or 8th inning. The inference phase, which is where this starts to become useful, and people employ AI agents and all that crazy stuff that we're going to see unfold over the next few years, that is going to start making a difference. And we're seeing that in the data plays. Remember, special situations, for those of you who jumped on there, we have amazing special situations events. And I said data, and I named a whole bunch of stocks that have now gone bananas. Snow, the Palantirs, Nebius as well, which has tripled. These are all tie-ins to data. These are companies that are going to help everyone out there who's going, holy moly, this AI thing is kind of real, isn't it? Well, how do we put that to use? Take a look at Palantir's numbers. Take a look at the numbers we are seeing. These guys are going, the phone's ringing off the hook. We cannot staff enough to satisfy the demand for people who want to get on board the AI train. So we're still going.
And I think we're also I feel like we're just in the beginning, right? So when you think about the runtime of this, I mean, has the internet revolution really ever stopped? Has it stopped? I mean, all it has become is more intertwined in our life. And I think every technological revolution that we've seen, at least I've seen since I started doing this, like, they don't really end. They evolve, but they don't really end. The computer revolution, I mean, you think about it, like railways, they were the first internet stocks, probably, right? Railroads just moved to other forms of transportation, and then ultimately, kind of where we are today. And now we're in, I guess, data, right? That's what you were talking about. Data, inference, the ability of these companies to continue to scale for, and you think about it, nobody thought Google in 2002 would be where it was today. Or, Amazon, how large they scale.
What you're talking about, Andrew, is the spokes of endless monetization and revenue. So people sort of say, well, isn't this a little bit like the .com? And, stocks go up and down. Obviously, they're going to do what they do. Market's going to market. But in the 90s, we built a lot of capacity and we didn't use it. We didn't use anywhere close to all of it until later. Guess what? We're hearing the opposite of it. Exactly what I said earlier. We are using every spare bit of capacity now. And anyone who says we're not seeing results from companies, have you seen some of the earnings? They're fantastic, even from the hyperscalers that are spending a lot of money to ensure that they dominate for the next 50 years. They have to spend. They want to set themselves up for the next 100 years. But guess what? They're already making money off of this stuff. So this is a very different situation. It is being put to use now in infinite numbers of ways to generate revenue. And that overbuild that people compare to in the 90s, it's not an overbuild. They're using every single chip available. So this is a very different reality. And as you say, this inference is really just getting going. And I think 2026 is going to be the year where we start to see that play out a little bit more. We're going to start hearing this company's doing this company's doing that. And that's really exciting because I think we're going into one of the most exciting periods I've ever seen in my life. And you can trade that if you get with us, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit later. But this is going to be a level of uncertainty in a way because we don't know what company's going to figure it out, what company's going to really push this and turn this into 100% revenue improvement, what company is going to blow it up and do fantastic, and what companies are actually going to blow up and blow this opportunity. We are entering a big question mark that's very exciting, but you want to be in the right areas.
Right. And I think that's something you'll talk about tonight a little bit as well. But the right areas, and that also kind of, I feel like it sort of it's bringing people out of the woodworks, you know. And that's kind of like it brought Michael Burry out of the woodwork. So if for anybody that doesn't know, did anybody see The Big Short? Hans, you saw The Big Short. I thought that was pretty good movie. And for anybody, what's funny is one thing about that movie is interesting. Anybody that has been a market maker before, and you know, a lot of things we do in Option Pit, right, and things you do in Turbo Income and stuff like that is like you learn stuff as a floor trader, right? You learn stuff as a floor trader. Now you're trying to take all those things that you learned and teach them to your students, right? How options work.
Mr. Big Short.
Yeah, and so when you look at trading, it also, when there were scenes in that movie where they were trying to exit their trades and they couldn't find a market, right? or Goldman would not provide a market. And these are the things, like if you were if you've been a liquidity provider, sometimes you are the market. That's how you learn. You are the market. You're the one that has to pick the prices for all of these things. So there's a level of expertise, Hans, that you ended up with being a market maker in Canada. I was one in the U.S. for a long time. That you feel a little bit what it's like to have to have this kind of demand going, because you've kind of seen the story before. You were on the other side of the paper when the last boom happened, and that helps you like pick strategies for basically the next leg up. And what it also does is it's now bringing in some skepticism. I think, didn't we do something a couple weeks about Paul Krugman? Didn't he make some claim? I guess he has a book coming out, and every time these guys, they have something to sell, so they come out with, whatever their prognostication is, no matter how wrong it is. The difference is at Option Pit, you and me, we actually, we're kind of behind these trades, right? We're actually, okay, we're making these trades. We're behind these trades. It's a little different than just being like Krugman and making who had probably the worst call in history that the internet was going to be a zero, and he's out, with the AI thing again.
That's the difference, Andrew, between people who make money by the word, they get paid for the word, and people who make money per trade, which is us. And there's a very, very, very big difference there. And I see that, with students, with members, I see that kind of push and pull all the time. Well, how does this make sense? Well, it makes sense because this is what the money is doing. And I'm sure Krugman would like to use quantum or whatever to erase that quote from history, but it's too late. It's out there.
Yeah, I know. It's hard. It's hard to get those back. You have to be careful when you say those. And now we
but it's prevalent. Peter Lynch the other day said he couldn't spell NVIDIA 8 months ago. And this is one of the most legendary investors of all time. So it doesn't always have to do with intelligence, IQ level. You kind of just have to be on board, and you have to kind of train your brain. And as you mentioned earlier, I've been through this. So I've seen the possibilities. I've seen insane bubbles. I've seen insane, you have too, Andrew, insane PE levels, and Cisco trading at 200. NVIDIA trading at 29 times forward earnings is not Cisco trading at 200 times earnings. So we have to really make sure that we frame the situation. Now, does that mean there aren't stocks that are trading a little nuts, the OCLOs and things like that? Well, of course, there's always going to be bubbles in every kind of market.
So, but that's, I think, another story for now, right? Is, people looking at what's going on with the market, looking at the market levels, and still trying to find reasons to be long or to own stocks and own some of these stocks that are still in the most, in the most sensitive place. But when you have, the Congress shutdown basically had the best outcome possible. That was the first thing. It's kind of, we expected it to happen, but the fact that they didn't cave, at least right now, right? There's no caving. And they're making an attempt to control spending. I don't even know if that's the right term, but that's a positive. The dollar index, the dollar is, like you said, everybody wanted out for 3 weeks and everybody wants back in. And then I think the last thing is just talking about, now that we have stocks at these levels, kind of like what Michael Burry and why is he out there now pushing his story, right? And this is another thing for people to get used to is, why now is he? Why do you think that he's trying to push the? I guess was he shorting what, Oracle and Palantir, or NVIDIA? I can't even get
NVIDIA. Yeah, NVIDIA, Palantir, which are really two different stories, Andrew. That very, very kind of, Palantir is spoken in is referred to in incredibly flowery language from the perspective of clients that use it. They say this is magic. This is absolutely magic. I've literally seen these quotes from meetings where people go, "This is absolutely mind blowing." So they are without a doubt one of the greatest software companies of all time, but they are also priced as such right now. So I think he's looking at valuation there. And saying this doesn't make much sense. Now it's difficult, right? It's tough to push a boulder up a hill. You have the weight of something coming against you. That's difficult. It's a very retail, popular cult stock, right? And so, then now NVIDIA is on the other side of the coin. He's not betting on valuation. He's betting on this being perhaps a more competitive market. NVIDIA not necessarily leading as much anymore. We know Google's got chips. We know there are a lot of good competitive names out there, and other ways to play the chip sector, right? So one of the ones that we did in Turbo Income, and I've talked about, I hope you guys are reading our emails and jumping aboard Ticker Highlight Show, because I talked about Micron, and I said Micron is where it's at. And since then, it's up 50%, and NVIDIA hasn't moved. So there is a bit of an ability to rotate within semiconductors. Not all semiconductors are made the same. And right now, that memory space is very, very hot. So I'm not sure exactly his thinking, but let's remember, this guy is a trader.
Right. And he also has to, he also has a fund to manage. He wants to raise capital. So he has to get out there and, and let people know what he's doing, because he wants to be able to manage more money. He hasn't had a hit in a while, right? Since 2008. Now that was a big one, and he was early on that one too. I think a lot of this is, you can be right. People are going to say the market's going to go down, but they were short for 10 years, and then the market has a correction at some point, but you missed the rally that lasted for years and years and years. And I feel like this is a little bit of a bury, because I think, didn't he say in 2022 or 2023, like sell? Yeah, he just put out his thing, sell. So you hear this stuff, but what I think you do well is you also pivot from stock to stock.
We look for the right. And listen, let's give this guy a little bit benefit of the doubt. I mean, I've said, I was even short Google at one point. It's been my biggest position for the last $75. I mean, look, sometimes we get a few calls wrong, and the being a big boy or big girl and pulling our pants up and realizing that something needs to be done about a decision. That's really one of my few bad decisions this year, I'm happy to say, is there's nothing wrong with going, hey, that wasn't right. And in fact, I see this as the complete opposite now. And let's take advantage of that. But what we do in Turbo Income is we really look at the strong stories, the quality companies like a Google, like many of the more solid names. And those give us something that we consider very precious, which is stability, right. Quality. We'll play some of these fun things. There's no doubt about it. And tonight, I think what you're getting at, Andrew, is tonight we are going to be taught. This is going to be the final night of the Great American Income Project. So I hope you guys, the Great American Income Summit, this is the event that we had an amazing turnout yesterday. Hundreds and hundreds of people really realizing that there is something special about that word income. We can trade various products. We can do interesting things in special situations, but right. Income really speaks to something that is different. It is our long-term health and wealth, and that's what's very special about it. So I think it touches a nerve, and the way that we have put this together in terms of the different sleeves of how we approach things, the 3% per trade, the cash reserve, the allocation to our turbo trades, which has really made a big difference. Right. The idea is to really build momentum for people. And tonight we are going to be talking about the underdog $10,000 account. And we are going to talk about how you are underdog no longer, because we have an answer.
We have a solution for it. Also, you have some worksheets. If people look in the alert section, I believe, if you go to the right there, kind of alerts, there's some stuff there that we have links that are available, and the ability to add it to your calendar and stuff like that. I believe we're going to have a worksheet posted there too, shortly. So you can kind of participate along in the in our show tonight. And what are we calling that? Is it Hans's awesome income show?
The Income Summit. The Summit.
The Income Summit. I like it. I like it. Right.
It is you can reach the summit. I will never be able to reach the summit of Everest. I'm pretty sure of that, unless they, maybe at some point they'll have an elevator that gets me up there pretty fast. But short of that, this is the summit that I can teach. This is the one where you can see somebody who's done this with almost $1 billion managed over time. This is literally my life. This is Hans distilled down into an unbelievable performance that we're going to show you tonight. Real trades, real action, real success. And look, this isn't for everybody. If you're not willing to put in an hour a week to learn these things and be a part of the program, it's not much, but it's not for everybody. Right. Then maybe it's not for you. But I think for me, when I see what FAs are delivering, which, let's face it, financial advisors they're about gathering assets. I know many of them. They are beautiful, lovely people, and that's what their skill is. They will relate. They are the most wonderful personalities in the world. It's quite amazing. Right. And they're good people, but their focus is bringing in more money. It literally is what they spend 80% of their mental capacity on. This is about you making a difference in your life, you moving your financial future forward, because nobody else is going to care about that like you do. Certainly not some financial advisor who has 300 other clients that he or she needs to call over the next quarter. Right.
So, and this is an opportunity for everybody to check out how to, and this is like hands-on, I like learning to do things myself. I like built a chicken coop and I build stuff and I learned how to do stuff. I learned how to trade options over the years. So I kind of like this hands-on approach. I manage my own retirement account, and that's basically what I do here every day at Option Pit. But this is a good lesson for people that want to learn it. And also your track record is not too bad either, by the way, Hans. It's pretty good.
A member the other day said, you know what I like about Hans? The other day he said he's kind of embarrassed about his track record. And he said, when he said that, I realized that this guy was, maybe a little self-deprecating, but realizing, being grateful for how things have gone. And he said, I signed up for lifetime this, he did like 3 other services as a result with the money he's made. So, no BS. We literally have that. You can see it in the chat. So, this is fun. This is putting a little spin, and you show up tonight, you're not going to get some massive push, or we're not going to put you in a headlock. You're going to learn some things. Even if you do not want to continue with anything, you're going to learn some things that I guarantee you are going to be able to implement into your framework. And our framework is important. I think the next 10 years are going to be absolutely phenomenal for investors, and you want to have the right framework. And the day to start is now. Would it have been nice to start 5 years ago? Absolutely. Today is the day to start, because it's still coming.
It gives people if you don't understand how to allocate and manage your own money, this gives you a starting point. So even if you don't become a member, you're still going to learn how to get going. And you have to think about it. If this is 1997 or 1996, there was 4 more years of rally. When everybody said 96, like, oh, this is the top, we can't go higher. 4 more years.
Andrew, the NASDAQ doubled in 98. It doubled in 99 if you include the little bit into 2000 before the top there.
Right.
If we feel very strongly that this is going to be a very AI driven market for many years. And I think there's a potential for this market to turn into something similar to that. And one great thing about Turbo Income and all the communities that we have is that very thing, that community, that group mentality, because so many people come to me and go, have I missed it? Have I missed it? When you see other people getting involved, doing good, thoughtful, and sensible trades, you feel compelled to join in. And there's a power in that has nothing to do almost with performance. It's up here. It helps to have people of like-minded people who are going to do similar things to you. So that's a hidden benefit of the community.
Right. And learning how to do it and actually seeing how to do it, I think, is important for people. And like I said, your track record is pretty good. It's pretty good. But for this week, right, things that are happening that are surprises. Shutdown. Oh, mark it up. That's what we said would happen. Dollar gaining strength. And then out of the corner, we have kind of we'll call him just a guy selling what he thinks is expensive AI, but there's still lots of stocks to go around, like MU, like you were talking about. So opportunity is still knocking on the door, plus the rest of the companies that are going to benefit from AI going forward. So Hans has been on this early. I just want to let everybody know, when people were like, it's over. No. Right. And he rode these gains higher. So that's what you want. Somebody that I identify and then ride. So
I love to zoom out. Andrew, because I think a good trader, a good investor even, is able to kind of live within the sandbox that they're in, which is maybe doing 30-day option trades, 30-day income trades. But if you don't zoom out, that's what informs your shorter term trades. If you're not looking at the bigger picture, you're not going to be informed for those smaller trades, those smaller, shorter time frame trades. It's as simple as that. You need to have all those time frames. Otherwise, you're going to be like students who, prospective students who come to me and they go, oh, Hans, I made money, I lost money, I made money, I lost money. No, you've got to know when to stay in something. You've got to know when to get out of something. That is how you move the needle over time, not doing 150 trades and breaking even or losing small. Different time frames.
Nope, I agree. Well, they are going to get them. An introduction tonight. So be there, I think 7:00. I will be there as well. I will have questions for Hans, as I ask how to run a $10,000 account, get you going, and just everybody join Hans.
Andrew, are you going to give them the blueprint as well? Is this a handout as well, the blueprint on how to build a chicken coop? Because that is a beautiful chicken coop. I want to live in there. That is my man cave.
Unfortunately, my wife just drew a picture and she says, can you go build this? So the chickens like it. Well, most of them, of course we lost one, but the fox hasn't been back since. So.
He's full for now.
He is full for now. Yes, he already had chicken cordon bleu once this month.
There you go.
All right, everybody. Hey, thanks for showing up. Sign up for tonight at 7:00. You will learn a lot. Even if you don't want to join, you're going to learn something. You're going to learn how to manage yourself. Oh, WA wants to learn how to clam. It's not that hard. You just need a clam rake and you need a place to clam. All right, everybody. I am out. Have a good night.
Yeah,
have a good day, everybody. Happy 30.